Hello and welcome to week 1 of the Creative Stretch. Yay!
We are so excited to be here, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation because, oh my goodness, the core values that we have on our week, this week 1, are so juicy. I feel like we could do a week on each of them.
And even though they're placed alphabetically over the next 10 weeks, I don't think we could have picked 3 more perfect ones to launch us into our conversations around core values and the connection between core values and our creative life. I think they're absolutely perfect. So our 3 values for this week are alignment, authenticity, and challenge. I never thought about challenge as a core value before we kind of went down this path. And I love where we're going to go with our conversation about challenge, but I'm curious, out of those 3, which one speaks to you the most right now?
Definitely authenticity. When we were deciding who was going to do what as far as the art videos go, I jumped on authenticity because I've struggled with that. In the past I've tried to sort of think, oh, I need to branch out and try something different, or go here or do this, and it felt like swimming upstream.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've done too much of that. I'm not willing to try and do things and be things that don't feel authentic to me anymore. I've spent too much of my life trying to
I
fit
think
in.
it's the beauty of getting older.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is the beauty of getting older. Like, we just don't give a hoot.
I'm out of F's. I just don't, they're all gone. No, I'm not going to grow anymore. Yeah.
I think though that together we've been on this journey the last year and a half, starting with when you led the first Artist Way group, whenever that was, the beginning of COVID, right?
April 2020.
And then in our other work together over the last 2 or 3 years, we've just been in this conversation about what matters to us. And we've been in this, joint building of our businesses and partnerships and collaborations. And the more I think that we work with others, the more it requires us to come into alignment, which is my value for the week, and not just alignment with ourselves, but alignment with each other, alignment with our values. And I think that the collaborations that have been most fruitful are with friends and colleagues who are authentic. The artists that we reach out to for this journey together are ones that we picked because of their authenticity and their alignment and shared values.
It is not something that you can fake.
No.
It is not, I don't think any of the core values can you fake or hide or pretend that you're something that you're not. It's going to come out. But when you know that their core value is authenticity, you can't hide it, right?
Yeah.
Or alignment, when you really can tell that somebody is walking their talk, that they are laser focused on what their values are, and they all of the euphemisms, and put their money where their mouth is, or they act
It's credibility and
Yeah.
integrity, right? Like, have everything to do with being in alignment. And I know that for so much of my life, I never felt like I fit in. Like, I was always the weird one in my family, the odd duck, studied something totally impractical. So all my university studies were in Spanish and Latin American literature and poetry. And I think even now at 56, my dad still doesn't know what I do, right? And then I went into all this coaching stuff. And so it's like, I always fit out, not in. And I'm okay with that now. I'm comfortable with my fit with myself. And the more authentic I become, the more I feel like I belong in the world, and that I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. And I think that's the beauty of authenticity and being 56 years old, is just this: I'm comfortable in my own skin for the first time in my life. And I think it's the combination of authenticity and alignment. Like the two almost can't be separated
Yeah.
for me. And alignment for me means all, there's the inner alignment of values, but also aligned in my thinking, in my head, in my heart, in my gut. I'm trusting my intuition, trusting my connection to source, trusting my own intellect that I know what I'm doing. So it's a lot about self-trust for me to stay in alignment. And I think the interplay of those two is fun. And I can't wait then now to go do our individual recordings and see where else we take our conversations, me around alignment, you around authenticity. And I think it's a lot of the challenges that we've been through in our lives have probably brought us to this place. But we're going to take a little bit different perspective on challenge today.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was looking up challenge originally, I actually reached out to Minna. I'm like, can we change this one? Can we just like not do this one? It was really hard to find a definition that put a positive spin on challenge. And I truly believe that all of our core values are going to be our assets rather than defects. The focus. I've done a little bit of talking on that in our wrap up calls, but the definition that we chose, or some thoughts around challenge that we chose as a creative challenge, is one of the most important processes of lateral thinking. It's not an attack, a criticism, or a way to demonstrate that the status quo is inadequate, but it's a challenge to uniqueness and explorative research of other possible solutions. I love that thought around challenge. It's this challenge to uniqueness. The dictionary definition is a stimulating task or problem, and it's kind of like, wah, wah, wah. Okay.
It
But
is,
this,
but when I think about my friends, so you and I face creative challenges all the time. You did this
yeah,
morning as you were sharing with me, and you shared on Instagram a total flop
yeah,
of something. But I think about, I have a few girlfriends that they love physical challenges. Like they love bungee jumping. A couple of them went hang gliding when they were, I know I'm like, they're wanting to climb the highest mountains. And, I have a husband who's an Ironman, three-time Ironman triathlon. Talk about a physical challenge. And I realize, like, not interested in those extreme physical challenges, but it does make me look at where could I challenge myself more in my own life? Where could I just lean into the edges of my comfort zone a little bit? Because I'm not going to go leap outside of it, but where could I do a little more? Where could I challenge myself to draw 100 faces so that I feel comfortable drawing faces? Like I love those 100-day challenges, and I never stick to them, because I get bored. But if I drew 20
why is
faces,
it? Why is it that you think? I'm curious on that. That's my curiosity, is why is it that you think that we as a society, because I'm lumping myself in with that we peter out of challenges like that. So just talking about like 100-day challenge, for example.
Hmm. For me, it's too much of the same over and over and
Mm,
over again.
mm,
It's not, and I usually take on something that is too big. So I'll use a fun recent example from social media, the Inchy challenge that Amy Miracle was doing, I
mm-hmm,
think, right?
mm-hmm,
Like I could do a 1-inch square every day, and I make art every day. So there's something about the theme of
mm-hmm.
the doing the same thing over and over, that now making art every day for 100 days, no problem, but doing the same subject
Yeah, that's
every day,
interesting.
I think that I have a hard time. It's not enough variety for me, and I have resistance to that. And yet I will go months and months and months drawing birds. But if I put a name on it, I'm personally less likely to stick with it. And maybe I also get to the place where it's not a challenge anymore. It doesn't take me
Mm,
100 days to have it feel like, oh, I got this. So also not having judgment about not finishing, right? I'm like, oh yeah, moving on. But I think I had to find my sweet spot, and I found sort of that 21 to 30-day challenge for me personally. I can totally stick to, like, and even with the morning pages and the artist way process, like the simplicity of the daily process, in that case with the morning pages and then the weekly artist dates, to use that as an example, no problem doing that for the 90 days, because there were new prompts and themes every
mm,
single week. And I think we built that into this 10-week challenge
Right.
because really it is a challenge to stretch yourself and grow into your values, right? I think that there's enough variety here. You're not doing the exact same thing every day. There's something to spark my curiosity or to see what values it's coming, so that I have a fresh approach where I run out of ideas for if I just say I'm going to do 100 faces, I'm like, okay, I'm out of ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it can be multiple factors. I know for myself, I've had to make it a game.
Mm,
And I think that's just a matter of figuring out how you work, because your answer is going to be different from my answer, is going to be different from everybody else who's on this journey with us in the creative stretch of what keeps us coming back to it. And so I encourage anybody who, resists challenge because you think, oh, I'm I can already I can already tell I resist challenge because I know I'm not going to stick with it. And so why even start? That can
mhm.
be one of them for me. If I want to do something, if I want to do something badly enough, I'm going to figure out a way to hack my brain, because my brain is already figuring out like, oh, you're going to fail at this, so don't start.
Yeah.
Um, and I can figure out fun ways to do it. For me, it's I love it. I love a gold star in a chart. I need a chart. I need it to be a visual for me to see, how many days have I missed doing what I said I was going to do. If I say
Yeah.
that, integrity is one of my highest core values, and I say I'm going to do something, that's probably why I don't start, right? Because I'm
Right. Because
like,
you don't want to be out of
out of
integrity with
integrity.
yourself.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
But when I know that the result of doing something is going to be of value, it
Yeah.
makes it easier for me to stick with it. If it's just simply like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do this because they said I'm going to do this, and I don't have any end result to look forward to, this brain is like, you've got many other things to spend your time on.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, for me, the challenge has to be, number one, it has to have a end result. Like I want a body of work that has 100 cohesive pieces, or I want to build my skill in a certain area. And I know that unless I'm doing it with other people, which
Mhm.
we're going to come up to that too, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration is next week. But
Yeah.
when I do something with other people, it keeps me accountable. I'm a girl that needs accountability. I need to
Mhm.
be feeling like I'm part of. You were talking about not ever feeling like you
Belonging.
were on the inside,
Mhm.
but having this feeling of being a part of, and having a joint challenge, and it having a final result of that's something that I can measure and notice a difference in. All of those are important for me. So,
I love what you said about that not starting because of fear of failing.
and
And
it's not even fear. It's
definitely
like I
resonates with
know
me.
my past has, right.
Right.
My
So you have to
past has proven to
practice
me.
proving yourself wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, visually, let me just say, the one time that I was really successful on a 100-day challenge is when I laid out I did them on, its size was important to me too. I did them
Yes.
on 3.5 inch. They were actually Zentangle tiles. And I didn't do Zentangle on them, but I just let that be the canvas for every day. I laid them out in a 10 by 10 grid on a large window that I have in my office. And they were stuck up with double stick tape. And every day I could visually see this accountability. So there's my accountability. It's right in front of my
There's your
face
chart.
every
There's your
day.
gold
There's my
star.
gold star chart, right? And then when people were coming in, this is back before COVID times, people were coming in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so, oh, I saw that. Oh, that's so great. So there's my
Yeah.
accountability and my, and sort of that community
Shared
lifting up.
community.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what works for me. So,
Yeah.
figuring out as far as the word challenge goes, if you resist against it, do some writing about why you resist it. What is it
Yeah.
that's prickling up in you? But man, I love that. Challenge is a core value, that it's challenging us to our uniqueness and exploring and researching possible solutions.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
right. Possible solutions. We do it in our art all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the hardest things as a newer artist is to move through the challenge of I can't draw, or to move through the challenge of the messy middle of a
Mm.
piece and work to the other side of that where you love it, or a challenge to get layering and collage, right? I mean, there's so many different areas. Challenge with how to use a new supply, like these Higgins Black India pens, just figuring out how to pump the silly thing. Because the little symbol on the pen is like impossible to read, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
those little simple things like that, they feel so challenging and they can stop us, right? They
Yeah,
can stop us in our tracks. But we should save some of this juicy challenge conversation because you and I are going to co-create an
we
awesome
are.
video where we're going to paint through a challenge together. So that's
Yeah.
coming up next as the third video in this, or the fourth video in this week's series, after alignment and authenticity. So we'll see you guys over there.
All right. Sounds great.